Right now, as you listen, your body reacts to sensations in a way that is quietly different from millions of others, and this difference has existed since the earliest humans. Some people feel pain instantly and intensely, while others remain calm during injuries that look unbearable, and this contrast has shaped human survival for thousands of years. In prehistoric life, pain was not only suffering, but a warning system that influenced movement, rest, and decisions in dangerous environments. Feeling pain early could save a life by forcing retreat before damage became fatal, especially during hunting, travel, or encounters with predators. At the same time, reduced pain sensitivity allowed others to endure cold, hunger, long movement, and repetitive labor without stopping too soon. Neither response was better or worse, because survival depended on having different reactions within the same group. Groups benefited when some individuals avoided risk quickly, while others pushed through discomfort when endurance was required. Over generations, these differences remained because changing climates and landscapes rewarded different pain responses at different times. Pain quietly shaped cooperation, assigning roles not by choice but by tolerance, endurance, and natural limits. From the deep past to today, pain has never been equal, only useful in different ways for human survival. For a long time, people believed pain tolerance was shaped only by experience, personality, or strength, but science now shows biology plays a major role. Inside the human body, pain begins in nerves that send signals to the brain, and small genetic differences can change how strong those signals become. Some genes affect how easily nerves activate, meaning pain can feel sharp and immediate for some, while muted or delayed for others. These genetic variations did not appear recently, but formed slowly as humans adapted to different environments over thousands of years. In colder regions, endurance and reduced sensitivity helped people continue moving and working despite harsh physical conditions. In more dangerous or unstable areas, heightened sensitivity helped individuals withdraw quickly and avoid serious injury. Natural selection did not remove these differences because each response improved survival under certain conditions. As humans migrated, mixed, and formed communities, these traits spread rather than disappearing. That is why pain sensitivity varies even among people living in the same place today. Modern genetics reveals that these ancient adaptations still influence how bodies react to injury, stress, and physical effort. Pain is therefore not a single human experience, but many overlapping ones shaped by deep evolutionary history. In early human groups, differences in pain sensitivity quietly shaped daily life, influencing who did certain tasks and how communities stayed functional. People who felt pain quickly often became observers, scouts, or caregivers because they noticed danger early and avoided unnecessary physical risk. Those who felt pain less intensely were more likely to handle heavy labor, long travel, or repetitive work that required endurance over many hours. This division was not planned or spoken aloud, but emerged naturally as people learned what their bodies could handle without breaking down. Pain sensitivity helped groups balance caution and persistence, preventing everyone from taking the same risks at the same time. When one person stopped due to pain, others could continue, allowing progress without forcing anyone beyond their limits. This balance reduced injuries that could threaten survival, especially when medical care did not exist. Pain also influenced learning because people remembered which actions caused harm and adjusted behavior to avoid repeating it. Over time, these patterns created stable roles that helped groups survive without rules, ranks, or formal organization. Pain was not a weakness in this system, but a signal that helped distribute effort wisely across the group. These differences allowed humans to survive environments that were unpredictable, harsh, and constantly changing. In early human groups, pain directly influenced cooperation because an injured person could not be easily replaced, and losing even one member weakened the entire group. When someone was hurt, others had to slow down, share food, offer warmth, and provide protection, turning care into a practical survival strategy rather than kindness. Groups that supported injured members increased their long-term strength because those people often recovered and continued contributing instead of being lost permanently. Pain sensitivity acted as an early warning system, making suffering visible before injuries became fatal or caused permanent damage. Those who showed pain clearly often received help sooner, reducing recovery time and preventing small injuries from becoming deadly. Over time, this created simple but reliable systems of care where helping the injured protected the group's future rather than slowing it down. Trust grew because people knew they would not be abandoned when pain or weakness appeared, making cooperation safer for everyone involved. This trust allowed individuals to take necessary risks, such as hunting or traveling, knowing support would exist if something went wrong. Pain, therefore, helped transform survival from an individual struggle into a shared responsibility carried by the entire group. These early patterns of care laid the foundation for human empathy, cooperation, and social bonds that still exist today. In early human life, pain played a major role in shaping memory, because painful experiences were remembered more clearly than neutral or comfortable ones. When someone was injured while performing a task, the memory of that pain stayed strong, helping them avoid repeating the same mistake in the future. This made pain a powerful teacher, guiding behavior without the need for rules, writing, or formal instruction. People learned which surfaces were dangerous, which tools caused injury, and which movements led to harm simply by remembering how pain felt. These memories were shared indirectly, as others observed injuries and adjusted their own behavior without needing explanation. Over time, groups developed safer ways to hunt, travel, and work, not through planning, but through accumulated painful experience. Pain, therefore, helped humans adapt to their environment by turning mistakes into long-lasting lessons. Even small injuries carried meaning because they taught limits that protected the body over time. This process allowed knowledge to build slowly across generations, as each group avoided dangers discovered by those before them. Pain shaped learning quietly, ensuring survival through memory rather than theory or instruction. As human life slowly became safer over time, pain never disappeared because it continued to serve an important purpose beyond immediate survival. Even when tools improved and shelters became stronger, pain still warned the body about strain, damage, and limits that could not be ignored. Pain helped humans avoid long-term injury by forcing rest when the body was pushed too far during work, travel, or repeated effort. Without pain, small injuries would have been ignored until they became permanent, reducing the ability to move, hunt, or contribute. Pain also helped people learn pacing, teaching when to slow down, change technique, or stop before damage became serious. Over generations, this made pain a protective signal rather than an enemy, even when it was uncomfortable or frustrating. As societies grew more complex, pain continued to guide daily behavior, shaping how people worked, trained, and recovered. Pain never vanished because it remained useful, reminding humans that the body has limits that technology cannot fully remove. Even today, pain still carries this ancient role, quietly protecting the body in a world that feels safer than it really is. In the modern world, pain feels different, not because the human body changed, but because daily life hides many dangers our bodies were designed to warn us about. Soft surfaces, climate control, medicine, and reduced physical labor mean pain appears less often, but when it does, it feels more confusing. Many people expect pain to disappear completely, seeing it as a failure rather than a signal shaped by long human history. Because modern life removes constant physical stress, pain now often appears suddenly, without the slow buildup our ancestors experienced. This makes pain harder to understand because it no longer comes from obvious threats like cold, hunger, or physical danger. Modern work often ignores natural limits, encouraging long sitting, repetition, or strain that pain tries to warn against. When pain is silenced instead of understood, small problems can quietly grow into long-term injury or chronic discomfort. The body still uses pain to protect itself, even if the environment no longer clearly explains the reason. Understanding pain as an ancient signal helps people respond with care instead of frustration or fear. Pain has not become outdated, even in modern comfort, because the human body still lives by older rules. Pain reveals that humans were never designed to live without limits, because the body constantly communicates what it can and cannot endure. Through pain, people learn where strength ends and care must begin, shaping behavior long before science or medicine existed. Pain connects physical experience with awareness, forcing attention toward parts of life that cannot be ignored or rushed. This connection helped humans survive by preventing silent damage that could end movement, work, or survival entirely. Pain also reveals human dependence on others because recovery often requires rest, help, and shared responsibility. No human survived alone, and pain made that reality clear by limiting what one body could handle without support. Through pain, humans learned empathy because recognizing suffering in others increased group survival and trust. Pain therefore shaped not only bodies but relationships, teaching cooperation through shared vulnerability. It reminded people that survival was collective, not individual, even when strength and endurance differed. Pain exposed honesty because it could not be hidden easily and demanded response from the group. Even today, pain reveals the same truths, showing limits that comfort and technology try to hide. It connects modern humans to ancient lives through the same signals and responses. Pain is uncomfortable, but it carries information that shaped humanity across time. Understanding this helps people see pain not as an enemy, but as part of being human. For most of human history, pain was not something to eliminate, but something to live alongside, because survival required understanding signals rather than silencing them. Ancient humans did not ask how to remove pain completely, but how to respond to it in ways that protected the body and the group over time. Pain taught when to rest, when to change behavior, and when to ask for help, preventing short-term effort from becoming long-term damage. Living with pain meant respecting limits instead of challenging them constantly, which allowed people to remain useful and mobile for many years. This relationship reduced fear, because pain was expected and understood, not treated as a sudden failure or personal weakness. When pain appeared, it slowed life naturally, giving space for recovery without guilt or pressure to continue. Communities adapted around this rhythm, accepting pauses and care as part of normal life rather than interruptions. Modern culture often encourages fighting pain, but ancient life encouraged listening to it before harm became permanent. Living with pain does not mean accepting suffering, but recognizing when the body needs attention instead of resistance. This approach helped humans survive harsh conditions without destroying themselves in the process. Even today, people who learn to respond to pain rather than ignore it often recover better and remain active longer. Pain has always been part of human life, not as an enemy, but as a guide shaped by deep history. Pain has always been the body's way of communicating limits, reminding humans that survival depends not on endless strength, but on balance and attention. For early humans, pain was not mysterious or frightening, but familiar, because it appeared naturally during work, travel, and daily survival. They learned that ignoring pain often led to lasting damage, while responding to it allowed recovery and continued participation in group life. Pain quietly taught humans when to slow down, when to rely on others, and when rest mattered more than effort. This lesson helped people survive long lives in harsh conditions without modern medicine or protection. Over generations, pain shaped behavior, cooperation, and care, becoming part of how humans understood themselves and one another. Even today, pain carries the same message, though modern life often tries to silence it instead of listening. When pain is understood as information rather than failure, it becomes easier to respond with care instead of fear or frustration. This perspective connects modern humans to ancient lives through the same signals and responses. Pain reminds us that the human body has never been designed to be limitless, but resilient when treated with respect. Listening to pain does not mean surrender, but choosing endurance over damage and awareness over denial. Through pain, humans learned how to survive together, and that lesson has never truly changed. Pain does not remain the same throughout life, because the human body and nervous system adapt based on experience, age, and repeated exposure. In early life, pain often feels sharper and more alarming because the body is still learning what is dangerous and what is safe. As people grow older, the nervous system adjusts, sometimes becoming less reactive to familiar stress or repeated physical strain. This adaptation helped ancient humans continue working, hunting, and traveling even as their bodies aged and accumulated wear. Pain did not disappear with age, but its meaning changed, becoming a signal for caution rather than immediate retreat. Older members of groups learned how to pace themselves, avoiding sudden movements while still contributing valuable effort. Their experience allowed them to recognize which pain could be endured and which pain signaled serious danger. This knowledge was not written or explained, but demonstrated through behavior and daily choices. Younger people learned by watching how elders responded to discomfort, injury, and recovery over time. In this way, pain became part of teaching, showing limits through example rather than instruction. Modern medicine often separates age from pain, but ancient life treated them as connected parts of the same process. Pain across a lifetime helped humans balance effort and preservation, allowing survival beyond youth. Pain has never been purely physical, because the human brain connects bodily signals with memory, fear, comfort, and past experience. In early human life, pain often appeared during moments of danger, loss, or exhaustion, linking physical sensation with emotional response. This connection helped humans remember harmful situations more clearly, increasing the chance of avoiding similar danger in the future. Pain felt stronger when someone was alone or unsupported, because isolation increased risk in harsh environments. When others were nearby, pain often felt more manageable, as shared presence reduced fear and stress. This is why care, touch, and attention have always reduced suffering, even before people understood why it worked. Pain also reflected emotional strain, because stress and fear made the body more sensitive to discomfort. Ancient humans lived with constant uncertainty, making emotional context a powerful influence on how pain was experienced. Over time, the brain learned to combine physical signals with emotional meaning, shaping behavior and memory together. This explains why pain can feel heavier during difficult moments, even when the injury itself is small. Pain was therefore a full-body experience, guiding both action and emotion to protect survival. Modern life has not changed this connection, even though pain is often treated as purely physical. Pain is remembered more clearly than most experiences because the human brain evolved to treat it as important information, not a passing sensation. In early human life, forgetting pain could lead to repeated injury, making strong memory a key part of survival in dangerous environments. When pain occurred, the brain stored not only the sensation, but also the place, action, and situation that caused it. This helped humans avoid the same mistakes, such as unstable ground, sharp tools, or risky movements during work or travel. Painful memories were not meant to cause fear forever, but to guide future behavior with caution and awareness. Over time, these memories shaped habits, making certain actions feel uncomfortable before harm even occurred. This process allowed humans to learn without constant injury, reducing risk while still allowing exploration and effort. Pain memories were also shared indirectly, as others observed injuries and learned what to avoid without experiencing harm themselves. In this way, pain helped knowledge spread through groups without words or formal teaching. Even today, people remember pain more vividly than comfort, because the brain still treats it as a survival signal. This is why small, painful moments can stay clear for years, while neutral days quickly fade from memory. Pain shaped learning, behavior, and caution across generations, leaving a deep mark on human experience. The same injury has never felt identical in every situation, because pain is shaped not only by damage, but by safety, fear, fatigue, and the body's current state. In early human life, an injury during danger often felt stronger, because the body increased awareness to force caution and prevent further harm. When safety returned, that same injury could feel less intense, allowing movement, escape, or return to camp before proper rest was possible. Cold, hunger, and exhaustion made pain heavier, because they signaled the conditions were becoming risky for survival. When people were warm, fed, and surrounded by others, pain often softened even though the injury itself had not changed. This flexibility allowed humans to respond to danger first and recovery later, balancing survival with long-term health. Pain was never fixed, but adjusted itself to situation, helping humans decide when to act and when to stop. Modern humans experience the same shifts, even if the reasons are hidden behind comfort and routine. Pain has not always required visible injury, because the human nervous system evolved to warn about danger before damage actually occurs. In early human life, pain sometimes appeared as tension, burning, or discomfort when the body sensed risk from cold, exhaustion, or stress. This early warning helped people stop, rest, or change behavior before real injury developed and threatened survival. Fear and uncertainty often triggered pain responses because the brain connected danger with bodily protection rather than waiting for harm. When environments were unstable, pain acted like an alarm system, encouraging caution even without direct physical damage. Over time, repeated stress made the nervous system more sensitive, causing pain to appear faster as a protective response. This sensitivity helped humans survive harsh conditions, but it also meant pain could exist without a clear external cause. Pain without injury reminded people to slow down, seek warmth, food, or safety, instead of pushing forward blindly. Modern humans still experience this ancient response, though it often feels confusing without visible damage. The body is still using pain to communicate limits, even when the environment looks safe. Understanding this helps explain why pain is sometimes real and intense, even when nothing appears physically wrong. Pain has always been more about protection than punishment. Some humans have always recovered from pain faster than others, because recovery depends not only on injury, but on how the body calms itself after danger passes. In early human life, quick recovery was useful for those who needed to return to movement, hunting, or travel soon after stress or injury. Bodies that could reduce pain signals efficiently conserved energy, allowing healing to happen without constant strain on the nervous system. This ability did not mean ignoring pain, but resolving it once its warning role was complete, helping balance protection and endurance. Social environment also mattered, because people who rested, received care, and felt safe often healed faster than those under constant stress. Safety signaled the body to relax, lowering tension and allowing natural repair processes to work more effectively. Over generations, these differences remained because both slow and fast recovery offered advantages in different survival situations. Fast recovery supported mobility and persistence, while slower recovery encouraged caution and long-term protection. Modern humans still show these patterns, even though daily life hides the original survival reasons behind them. Recovery speed is therefore not a sign of strength or weakness, but a reflection of how different bodies evolved to protect themselves. Pain fades differently because bodies learn different ways to survive stress, danger, and uncertainty over deep time. Pain sometimes becomes chronic because the nervous system learns to stay alert even after the original danger or injury has passed, keeping warning signals active. In early human life, this prolonged sensitivity helped protect damaged areas, preventing re-injury while healing was incomplete or conditions remained unsafe. When danger lasted a long time, such as during cold seasons, illness, or repeated stress, the body adapted by staying cautious instead of returning quickly to normal. This meant pain could linger, reminding people to avoid certain movements or behaviors that might cause further harm. Over time, the nervous system could become stuck in this protective mode, continuing to send pain signals even when tissues had healed. This was not a mistake, but an adaptation shaped by environments where danger often returned before recovery was complete. Chronic pain helped some humans survive by enforcing long-term caution, even though it reduced comfort and mobility. In modern life, where danger is less constant, this same response can feel confusing and unnecessary. The body is still using an ancient rule, staying protective because it learned that stopping pain signals too early once carried serious risk. Understanding this shows that chronic pain is not imagined, but a system that evolved to favor survival over comfort. Pain becomes persistent when the body believes threat has not fully ended, even if the world looks safe. Pain has always been difficult to compare between people, because it exists inside the nervous system, not as something visible or measurable from the outside. In early human groups, there was no way to quantify pain, so people learned to judge it through behavior, movement, and facial expression. Someone who stopped working, moved carefully, or avoided certain actions signaled pain without needing explanation or proof. Others learned to respect these signals because ignoring them often led to injury, illness, or loss of a group member. Pain was understood as personal, shaped by body, experience, and situation, rather than something that could be ranked or compared. This prevented constant judgment because survival required accepting that different bodies responded differently to the same stress. Modern attempts to measure pain often fail because pain was never meant to be standardized across individuals. The brain interprets danger using memory, emotion, and past experience, making each pain response unique. Two people can suffer the same injury, but experience very different levels of pain without either being wrong. Ancient humans accepted this naturally, adjusting care and effort based on observation rather than expectation. This flexibility allowed cooperation to continue without forcing everyone into the same physical limits. Pain remained subjective because subjectivity protected survival better than uniform rules. Pain has always been strongly connected to stress and fatigue because the human body treats exhaustion as a sign that danger may be approaching. When energy drops, the nervous system becomes more sensitive to protect what remains. In early human life, stress often meant hunger, cold, threat, or uncertainty, so increased pain sensitivity helped slow people down before collapse or injury occurred. This response conserved energy and reduced risky behavior. Fatigue made pain stronger because tired bodies reacted more sharply to strain, sending clearer signals to stop before damage became permanent. This helped humans survive long journeys, harsh climates, and repeated physical effort. Stress also amplified pain because fear and uncertainty prepared the body for danger, tightening muscles and heightening awareness. Pain increased not to punish, but to prevent careless movement during vulnerable moments. When stress passed, pain often softened, allowing recovery and movement to resume. This flexibility helped humans switch between caution and endurance, depending on conditions rather than staying locked in one response. Modern life still triggers this system, even though stress now comes from mental pressure instead of physical danger. The body reacts the same way, increasing pain to signal overload and protect itself. This explains why pain often worsens during exhaustion, anxiety, or burnout, even without new injury. The nervous system is responding to perceived threat rather than visible damage. Pain linked to stress is therefore not imagined or exaggerated, but an ancient survival response that once prevented collapse when resources were low. Understanding this connection helps explain why rest, safety, and recovery reduce pain more effectively than forcing the body to continue. Pain increases when stress rises because the body is asking for protection, not proving weakness. Pain has often felt stronger at night because the human body lowers alertness and activity, allowing internal signals to become more noticeable without daytime distraction. In early human life, night meant vulnerability because darkness increased danger and reduced the ability to react quickly to threats. As activity slowed, the brain paid more attention to bodily sensations, including discomfort that was easier to ignore during movement and work. Fatigue also peaked at night, making pain signals stronger as the body reached its limits after long periods of effort. Without noise, light, or social interaction, pain became harder to distract from, increasing awareness of every sensation. This was not accidental because heightened sensitivity at night encouraged rest, reducing injury during the most dangerous hours. Pain at night forced stillness, helping bodies recover while conserving energy for the next day. Stress hormones also dropped after sunset, changing how pain was processed and making discomfort feel heavier and more persistent. Modern humans experience the same pattern, even though night no longer brings the same physical danger. The body still treats darkness as a time for caution, repair, and reduced movement. Pain feels worse at night because the nervous system is asking for rest, not because damage suddenly increased. Understanding this helps explain why sleep, calm, and routine often reduce pain more than force or distraction. Pain often changes during movement because the human body evolved to prioritize action when survival required escape, travel, or continued effort. In early human life, stopping completely was sometimes more dangerous than moving carefully, especially during cold, threat, or migration. When people began moving, the nervous system reduced pain signals slightly, allowing muscles and joints to function long enough to reach safety. This response helped humans escape danger before fully addressing injury, balancing immediate survival with later recovery. Movement also improved blood flow and warmth, which naturally reduced stiffness and discomfort caused by cold or long inactivity. As muscles warmed, pain often softened, making continued motion feel safer than remaining still. This did not mean injuries disappeared, but that the body temporarily adjusted pain to allow necessary action. Once movement stopped, pain returned, reminding people to rest and avoid further strain. This pattern helped humans survive situations where stopping too soon could be fatal. Modern humans experience the same effect when pain eases during gentle activity but returns during rest. The body still uses movement as a short-term solution, not a cure, guiding when to act and when to recover. Pain changing during movement reflects an ancient balance between action and protection. Pain often changes during movement because the human body evolved to prioritize action when survival required escape, travel, or continued effort. In early human life, stopping completely was sometimes more dangerous than moving carefully, especially during cold, threat, or migration. When people began moving, the nervous system reduced pain signals slightly, allowing muscles and joints to function long enough to reach safety. This response helped humans escape danger before fully addressing injury, balancing immediate survival with later recovery. Movement also improved blood flow and warmth, which naturally reduced stiffness and discomfort caused by cold or long inactivity. As muscles warmed, pain often softened, making continued motion feel safer than remaining still. This did not mean injuries disappeared, but that the body temporarily adjusted pain to allow necessary action. Once movement stopped, pain returned, reminding people to rest and avoid further strain. This pattern helped humans survive situations where stopping too soon could be fatal. Modern humans experience the same effect when pain eases during gentle activity but returns during rest. The body still uses movement as a short-term solution, not a cure, guiding when to act and when to recover. Pain changing during movement reflects an ancient balance between action and protection. Pain and immunity have always worked together, because both systems evolved to protect the body from damage, infection, and long-term harm. In early human life, injury often meant infection, so pain forced rest while the immune system focused on fighting bacteria and healing tissue. People who ignored pain often moved too much, reopening wounds and allowing illness to spread, which weakened survival chances. Pain slowed the body down so immunity could work, reducing movement, conserving energy, and increasing the chance of recovery. At the same time, immune strength differed between individuals, just like pain sensitivity, because humans face different environments and threats. Some people resisted illness easily, while others became sick more often, yet both traits remained because each offered advantages in certain conditions. Strong immune responses protected against infection, but sometimes caused fatigue, fever, and pain that forced rest. Weaker or slower immune responses avoided excessive strain, allowing people to function longer during constant exposure to viruses. This balance helped groups survive waves of illness without everyone reacting the same way at once. Pain often increased during sickness, not because of injury, but because the immune system signaled the need to stop and recover. Fever, soreness, and discomfort were tools that forced stillness while the body fought infection. Ancient humans lived surrounded by far more viruses and bacteria than modern people, shaping immune behavior deeply. Those environments preserved diversity in immune reactions, just as they preserved differences in pain sensitivity. Even today, people react differently to the same illness, because immune systems are shaped by long personal and ancestral history. Pain and immunity still work together, guiding behavior even when danger is no longer obvious. Understanding this connection shows that discomfort is often protective, not random or broken. Some humans have always gotten sick less often than others, because immune systems evolved differently depending on environment, exposure, and survival pressure. In early human life, constant contact with bacteria, parasites, and viruses forced immune systems to adapt quickly or fail entirely. People who survived repeated illness often developed stronger or faster immune responses, passing those traits forward over generations. Others survived by avoiding overreaction because too strong an immune response could cause exhaustion, fever, or long recovery. This meant there was never a single perfect immune system, only different strategies shaped by local threats. In crowded or damp environments, strong immune reactions helped control infection before it spread through the body. In harsh or food-scarce conditions, calmer immune responses conserved energy and allowed people to keep functioning despite illness. Groups benefited from this variation because not everyone became sick in the same way or at the same time. Some individuals continued working while others recovered, preventing complete collapse during outbreaks. Illness, therefore, shaped cooperation, forcing groups to adjust roles, share resources, and slow movement when needed. Ancient humans lived with far more frequent illness than modern people, making immunity a constant survival factor. Those who rarely became sick often acted as carriers of stability during times of widespread infection. Even today, people notice that some rarely catch colds or viruses, while others get sick easily from the same exposure. This difference is not luck, but the result of immune systems shaped by long histories of adaptation. Modern hygiene hides many threats, but immune diversity remains inside human bodies. Rare illness does not mean invulnerability, but a different balance between response and recovery. Understanding this helps explain why sickness has never affected everyone equally, either in the past or today. Ancient humans lived surrounded by viruses that no longer exist today, and constant exposure forced the immune system to adapt in lasting ways. Many infections were not deadly on their own, but repeated exposure shaped how the body recognized threats and responded over time. Viruses that spread slowly favored immune systems that reacted carefully, avoiding exhaustion while still controlling infection. Faster or more aggressive viruses rewarded quicker immune responses, even if those responses caused pain, fever, or weakness. Over generations, these pressures shaped human biology, leaving traces that still influence immunity today. Some immune traits that protect against modern illness originally evolved to fight ancient viruses that disappeared thousands of years ago. This explains why certain immune reactions seem unnecessary or intense in the modern world. The body is still following rules written by environments filled with constant infection and uncertainty. Ancient viruses also influenced population survival, as outbreaks removed some traits while preserving others. Groups that survived repeated waves of illness carried immune patterns forward, shaping future generations. These adaptations were not perfect, but good enough to allow survival in hostile conditions. Modern humans carry this ancient immune memory, even when daily life feels clean and safe. Understanding this helps explain why immunity varies so widely between individuals today. The past shaped the body long before medicine or science could explain why. Modern life feels safe and controlled, but the human body still operates by rules, shaped in environments full of danger, disease, and uncertainty. For most of human history, stress came from cold, hunger, infection, and injury, not from screens, schedules, or constant information. The body learned to react strongly to any sign of threat, because ignoring danger once often meant death or permanent harm. In the modern world, many of those threats are gone, but the body still responds as if they exist. Stress now comes from noise, pressure, lack of rest, and mental overload, yet the body treats it like physical danger. This confusion causes pain, fatigue, and immune reactions that feel unnecessary or excessive. The body increases sensitivity because it cannot clearly separate modern stress from ancient survival threats. Pain appears to force slowing down, immunity activates to protect against imagined risk, and recovery becomes harder. Ancient bodies were designed for clear danger, followed by clear rest, not constant low-level pressure. Modern routines rarely allow full recovery, keeping protective systems active longer than they were meant to be. This explains why people feel tired, sore, or unwell without clear injury or illness. The body is not broken, but responding correctly to signals it does not fully understand. Understanding this gap helps explain many modern discomforts without blaming weakness or failure. Ancient biology is doing its best in a world it was never designed for. Ancient human bodies were shaped to adapt quickly to changing conditions, and this flexibility still exists today, even if modern life rarely requires it directly. The body remains extremely good at conserving energy, shifting priorities, and protecting vital systems when stress, illness, or exhaustion appear. When danger or overload is sensed, the body redirects resources away from comfort and toward survival, just as it did thousands of years ago. This is why people lose appetite, feel tired, or become sensitive during stress, because the body is choosing protection over performance. Ancient bodies were designed to survive long periods of uncertainty, not constant comfort, and that design still guides internal responses. Recovery systems are also highly efficient when given proper conditions, such as rest, safety, warmth, and reduced pressure. When these conditions exist, healing often happens quietly and effectively without intervention. Modern life often interrupts recovery by keeping stress present even during rest, confusing systems that expect clear signals. Despite this, the body still knows how to heal when allowed to return to older rhythms of rest and effort. This ability explains why changes in routine, environment, or stress level can dramatically affect pain and immunity. Ancient bodies were not fragile, but responsive, adjusting constantly to protect long-term survival. Recognizing this helps people work with their bodies instead of fighting signals shaped by deep evolutionary history. For most of human history, rest was not a luxury or reward, but a critical survival skill that protected the body from long-term damage and collapse. Ancient humans learned that ignoring exhaustion led to injury, illness, or death, so rest became part of survival rather than something to feel guilty about. Rest allowed muscles to recover, immune systems to strengthen, and pain signals to fade once danger had passed. Without rest, even strong and skilled individuals quickly became liabilities, unable to hunt, travel, or protect the group. Groups that respected rest survived longer because they preserved their members instead of consuming them through constant effort. Rest often followed intense activity, creating a natural rhythm between work and recovery shaped by daylight, weather, and physical limits. This rhythm allowed ancient bodies to reset, lowering stress and preventing pain from becoming permanent or overwhelming. Modern life disrupts this pattern by separating effort from rest, keeping pressure present even during inactivity. Ancient rest was not inactivity alone, but safety, warmth, and reduced demand, signaling the body to heal. When rest conditions were clear, recovery happened naturally without instruction or intervention. The body still expects this pattern even when modern schedules ignore it. Understanding rest as a survival skill explains why ignoring it increases pain, illness, and fatigue. Ancient humans survived not by endless effort, but by knowing when to stop. Differences in pain, immunity, recovery, and rest still matter today because modern humans live in bodies shaped by ancient survival rules. Even in comfort, the nervous system reacts as if danger could return at any moment. Modern society often expects the same performance from everyone, but human biology was never uniform. Some bodies react faster to stress or pain, while others endure longer, and this variation once protected entire groups. These differences help prevent collapse, because not everyone pushed themselves to the same limit at the same time. Some slowed down early, others continued, creating balance rather than constant strain. When modern systems ignore this natural variation, discomfort increases. Pain becomes louder, fatigue lasts longer, and recovery slows because ancient signals are constantly overridden by pressure and routine. Understanding these differences helps explain why identical advice or schedules do not work for everyone. The body is not broken, but responding logically to rules shaped long before modern life existed. The human body has never stopped carrying the past because evolution does not erase systems that once protected survival across countless generations of uncertainty. Pain, immunity, fatigue, and recovery are not flaws to be removed, but signals shaped to guide behavior when danger was common and resources were limited. Ancient humans survived not by ignoring discomfort, but by responding to it, slowing down, adapting, and relying on others when needed. These responses allowed groups to endure harsh conditions without destroying themselves through constant effort or forced endurance. Modern life often treats these signals as problems, yet they continue to function exactly as they were designed to. When people listen instead of resist, the body often finds balance more easily than when pressure and speed dominate every decision. The past teaches that survival was never about perfection, but about adjustment, patience, and respect for limits. Human strength came from variation, not sameness, allowing different bodies to contribute in different ways. These lessons remain relevant even when the world looks safe and controlled on the surface. Ancient systems still guide modern bodies quietly, asking for care rather than conflict. Understanding this reconnects people with their own biology instead of fighting it. The human body has always known how to survive, and it still does. Even in a modern world filled with technology, the human body continues to rely on ancient systems that once protected survival in far harsher conditions. Pain, fatigue, and immune reactions still work together to prevent damage long before conscious thought intervenes. These systems do not care about productivity or schedules. They respond only to signals of overload, threat, or instability, slowing the body down when limits are reached. This response once saved lives when ignoring warning signs meant permanent loss or death. Modern discomfort often appears confusing because the danger is no longer visible. The body reacts to pressure, noise, isolation, and stress as if they were physical threats, because historically they often led to injury or illness. Pain increases, energy drops, and immunity shifts not because something is broken, but because protection has been triggered. The body assumes risk when recovery is delayed or rest is uncertain. Ancient humans survived because they respected these signals, adjusting effort instead of forcing endurance. Modern life often removes that option, keeping systems active longer than intended. Understanding this explains why slowing down, resting, and reducing pressure often restore balance better than constant intervention or resistance. The body still protects life the only way it knows how, using rules shaped long before modern comfort existed. These ancient systems remain active because they still work, even when their purpose is no longer obvious. When people begin to understand that pain, fatigue, and immunity are protective systems, their relationship with the body often changes in subtle but important ways. Signals that once felt like enemies start to feel like guidance shaped by long experience. Ancient humans did not separate life into work, rest, and recovery as modern people do. These states flowed naturally, allowing effort to rise and fall based on conditions rather than expectation or pressure. The body still expects this rhythm, responding poorly when effort is constant and recovery is delayed. Pain and exhaustion appear not to punish, but to restore balance that once came naturally. Modern routines often demand steady performance, yet ancient biology responds best to variation. Periods of intensity followed by genuine rest once defined survival, not failure or laziness. Understanding this helps explain why short breaks, slower pacing, and reduced pressure often improve health more than pushing harder. The body recognizes safety before it allows healing. When people work with these signals instead of resisting them, stress decreases and recovery becomes more efficient. Ancient systems relax once they sense stability and care. This shift does not require abandoning modern life, only recognizing that the body still listens for older patterns beneath new habits. The past continues to shape daily experience, not as memory, but as instinct written into every system that protects life. For most of human history, life was never stable or predictable, so the body evolved to handle constant change rather than steady conditions. Pain, energy, and immunity adjusted daily to shifting risks. Some days demanded endurance, others demanded caution, and the body learned to switch between these modes without conscious planning. This flexibility protected survival when the environment offered no guarantees. Variation prevented collapse because bodies that changed pace avoided exhaustion, injury, and illness that could remove them from group life entirely. Modern routines reduce variation, yet the body still expects it, reacting with discomfort when days look the same, but pressure never stops. For most of human history, life was never stable or predictable, so the body evolved to handle constant change rather than steady conditions. Pain, energy, and immunity adjusted daily to shifting risks. Some days demanded endurance, others demanded caution, and the body learned to switch between these modes without conscious planning. This flexibility protected survival when the environment offered no guarantees. Variation prevented collapse because bodies that changed pace avoided exhaustion, injury, and illness that could remove them from group life entirely. Modern routines reduce variation, yet the body still expects it, reacting with discomfort when days look the same, but pressure never stops. Early human life reduced suffering not by eliminating pain, but by sharing its consequences across the group. When one person slowed down, others adjusted effort naturally. Food sharing, shelter, and protection reduced pressure on injured or sick individuals, allowing recovery without isolation. This shared response lowered stress, which in turn reduced pain and supported immune function. Suffering became manageable because it was not faced alone, strengthening bonds and long-term survival. Early human life reduced suffering not by eliminating pain, but by sharing its consequences across the group. When one person slowed down, others adjusted effort naturally. Food sharing, shelter, and protection reduced pressure on injured or sick individuals, allowing recovery without isolation. This shared response lowered stress, which in turn reduced pain and supported immune function. Suffering became manageable because it was not faced alone, strengthening bonds and long-term survival. When the body senses safety, pain and tension often soften naturally because protective systems are no longer required to stay alert. Ancient humans found safety through warmth, food, shelter, and familiar presence, signaling recovery time. These conditions allowed muscles to relax, immunity to stabilize, and energy to return gradually. The body still responds the same way, releasing protection once stability feels real rather than temporary. When the body senses safety, pain and tension often soften naturally because protective systems are no longer required to stay alert. Ancient humans found safety through warmth, food, shelter, and familiar presence, signaling recovery time. These conditions allowed muscles to relax, immunity to stabilize, and energy to return gradually. The body still responds the same way, releasing protection once stability feels real rather than temporary. For ancient humans, slowing down was not a failure, but a strategy that protected the body from injury, illness, and exhaustion during uncertain conditions. Moving carefully reduced accidents because haste often led to falls, wounds, or mistakes that could not be treated easily. Slower movement allowed better awareness of terrain, weather, and danger, increasing chances of avoiding threats before they became serious. When pain or fatigue appeared, slowing down preserved energy, helping the body recover instead of collapsing completely. Groups that respected slower pacing survived longer because they lost fewer members to preventable harm. This approach balanced effort with caution, allowing progress without constant damage. Modern life often values speed, but ancient survival rewarded timing and restraint. The body still recognizes slowing down as safety, responding with reduced tension and pain. Slowness once kept humans alive, and its effects remain written into the nervous system. Ancient humans became strong not through extreme effort, but through repetition spread across time, allowing the body to adapt without breaking down. Daily tasks repeated slowly trained muscles, joints, and balance while giving tissues time to recover between efforts. This approach reduced injury because the body adjusted gradually instead of being pushed past its limits in short bursts. Repetition built endurance quietly without dramatic strain or collapse, making strength reliable rather than temporary. Pain appeared early when limits were crossed, guiding adjustment before serious harm occurred. Modern training often ignores this rhythm, increasing effort faster than adaptation can follow. The body still responds best to steady repetition because that pattern shaped survival for thousands of years. Strength built slowly lasts longer, while forced effort often leads to breakdown. Ancient repetition created resilience without destruction, and that principle still applies today. Ancient humans became strong not through extreme effort, but through repetition spread across time, allowing the body to adapt without breaking down. Daily tasks repeated slowly trained muscles, joints, and balance while giving tissues time to recover between efforts. This approach reduced injury because the body adjusted gradually instead of being pushed past its limits in short bursts. Repetition built endurance quietly, without dramatic strain or collapse, making strength reliable rather than temporary. Pain appeared early when limits were crossed, guiding adjustment before serious harm occurred. Modern training often ignores this rhythm, increasing effort faster than adaptation can follow. The body still responds best to steady repetition because that pattern shaped survival for thousands of years. Strength built slowly lasts longer, while forced effort often leads to breakdown. Ancient repetition created resilience without destruction, and that principle still applies today. Ancient humans learned early that energy was as valuable as food, because wasting strength could mean failure days later when conditions suddenly worsened or resources disappeared. Every movement carried cost, so bodies adapted to choose efficiency over force, favoring techniques and rhythms that reduce strain while still achieving results. Pain and fatigue acted together to prevent reckless spending of energy, encouraging slower pace and smarter movement instead of constant effort. This conservation allowed people to survive long migrations, repeated labor, and unpredictable shortages without collapsing under exhaustion. Groups that conserved energy lasted longer because they could respond when true emergencies appeared instead of being depleted already. Modern life often hides energy cost, but the body still reacts strongly when it senses waste or overload. Discomfort appears not to punish, but to protect reserves needed for future challenges. Ancient survival depended on saving strength for what mattered most, not using it all at once. The body still follows this rule, even when modern routines ignore it. Ancient humans quickly learned that constant effort was dangerous because bodies pushed without pause broke down long before tasks were finished or seasons changed. Continuous strain increased injury, sickness, and exhaustion, leaving individuals unable to contribute when they were needed most by the group. To survive, humans learned to alternate effort with pause, allowing strength to return before it was fully depleted. Pain and fatigue appeared early to discourage nonstop work, signaling that recovery was as important as action. This rhythm protected muscles, joints, and immune function over long periods of uncertainty. Groups that ignored this balance lost members faster, weakening their ability to hunt, travel, or defend themselves. Avoiding constant effort created sustainability, allowing survival across years rather than short bursts of productivity. Modern life often rewards non-stop activity, but the body still resists it using ancient warning systems. Discomfort appears when limits are crossed, reminding the body of rules written long before modern schedules existed. Ancient survival depended on lasting through time, not proving endurance in a single moment. The human body still favors survival over speed even when pressured to do otherwise. Trust became essential for survival because ancient humans depended on others to notice danger, share effort, and respond when pain or weakness appeared. When people trusted the group, they could rest without fear, knowing others would protect them during recovery or exhaustion. This trust reduced stress, allowing the body to lower alertness and begin healing instead of remaining tense and defensive. Pain felt less overwhelming when support was present, because the nervous system sensed safety rather than isolation. Groups that lacked trust collapsed faster, as individuals pushed themselves too hard out of fear of being abandoned. Trust allowed honest signals of pain and fatigue, preventing hidden injuries that could threaten long-term survival. This social safety reduced unnecessary suffering, making cooperation more stable across difficult conditions. Modern humans still respond to trust with reduced pain and stress, even when physical danger is absent. The body recognizes support as protection, easing ancient warning systems automatically. Trust was not emotional comfort alone, but a biological advantage shaped by survival. Ancient humans became skilled at reading signs of fatigue and pain in others because survival depended on noticing limits before collapse occurred. Subtle changes in movement, posture, or pace signaled when someone was reaching exhaustion, allowing effort to shift without words. This awareness prevented injury by stopping tasks before damage became irreversible or dangerous. Groups that ignored these signs lost members more quickly, weakening their ability to survive harsh conditions. Learning to read limits reduced conflict because slowing down felt protective rather than lazy or weak. Pain did not need explanation because bodies communicated clearly through behavior. This shared understanding created smoother cooperation, allowing work to continue without forcing anyone beyond capacity. Modern life often hides these signals, but the body still communicates limits the same way. Recognizing limits in others once protected everyone, not just the individual in pain. These instincts remain even when social structures no longer support them fully. Ancient humans became skilled at reading signs of fatigue and pain in others because survival depended on noticing limits before collapse occurred. Subtle changes in movement, posture, or pace signaled when someone was reaching exhaustion, allowing effort to shift without words. This awareness prevented injury by stopping tasks before damage became irreversible or dangerous. Groups that ignored these signs lost members more quickly, weakening their ability to survive harsh conditions. Learning to read limits reduced conflict because slowing down felt protective rather than lazy or weak. Pain did not need explanation because bodies communicated clearly through behavior. This shared understanding created smoother cooperation, allowing work to continue without forcing anyone beyond capacity. Modern life often hides these signals, but the body still communicates limits the same way. Recognizing limits in others once protected everyone, not just the individual in pain. These instincts remain even when social structures no longer support them fully. Across all of human history, survival never depended on ignoring pain, illness, or fatigue, but on responding to them with patience and awareness. Ancient humans lived close to danger, yet survived by listening to signals that warned when effort, speed, or risk needed to change. Pain, immunity, rest, and recovery formed a single system that protected life over long stretches of uncertainty and change. These systems were not designed to make life comfortable, but to make it last. Variation between bodies was never a flaw, but a strength that allowed groups to adapt instead of breaking under pressure. Some slowed down early, others endured longer, and together they survived conditions no single response could handle alone. Modern life often forgets this balance, but the body still remembers it clearly. Discomfort appears when ancient limits are crossed, not to punish but to protect what cannot be replaced. When signals are respected, the body often finds stability without force or struggle. The past still lives quietly inside every person, guiding survival in ways that require no awareness. Human bodies have always known how to endure, recover, and adapt when allowed to move at their own pace. And in that quiet knowledge, the long story of survival continues, even as the world slowly falls asleep.